That's one of the funniest moments in this special where you talk about the big panties. You said, I like them to come up over my stomach.
I do. I really do. And I remember I went to Nashville, we were sitting around a big table, and all those men and women that work at Outback Concerts who are the best of the best said, what do you want to name it? And I said, I think I want to name it the Big Panty Tour. I've been talking about my panties a lot. And I've got my panties on my mind. And I think about all through the years, my act, has been based on my life. And I think, I went through maternity panties, tiny panties in the 80s when I was in sin, birthing, big panties. Then, then trying to get my weight off, went to Weight Watchers, tinier panties, And I just thought, this feels right to me. And they were like, we love it, Leanne, let's do it. And so I had the Big Panty Tour, had a ball. 18 months it took to get through those cities.
So let me ask you this. You made a decision not to quit.
And I tell you, my manager at the time said, Leanne, there's this company in Salt Lake City, Dry Bar. Nobody's ever heard of it. It's a clean comedy platform. Nobody's ever heard of it. I remember him saying these words to me, nobody will ever see it. But they want you to do a special. They'll pay you a couple of $1,000s. They'll give you a hotel room. You're going to be in Dubuque, Iowa, doing the Chamber of Commerce luncheon. That's how bad my career was going. I was doing the Chamber of Commerce luncheon in Dubuque, which, let me say, there's some of the prettiest people in Dubuque, Iowa. I don't know who those people are. They're beautiful. But they didn't even hire me to do the nighttime thing. I was the luncheon. I barely got enough money to get out there on a tiny plane with propellers and where I thought I was going to go down. But, and he said, why don't you just scoot on out to Salt Lake City and do that, and we'll get clips. If anything, we'll get clips for you to get more Dubuque of Iowa luncheons. I'm not kidding, that's what he said to me. He had hit a wall, he didn't know what to do, and I was like, okay. And I went out there and did that Dry Bar thinking, this is nothing. But that I don't know, it's gotten like 50 million views. And that really didn't translate into ticket sales. I still couldn't get booked in clubs. They would book me in a club, but they would say, we love her. She doesn't get drunk and fight in the parking lot, but she can't sell tickets. That's what they'd say. We love her, she's sweet, love her, can't sell tickets. And then, so the Dry Bar thing, I was getting all these views and fans and stuff, but it wasn't translating into ticket sales and all that.
Yeah.
And then I said to my manager at the time, when I say that because I'm no longer with him, because I said to him, all the people that I admire, all the people that I love to watch and that I'm a fan of have got social media people. And that's the new thing. And I think I should hire these people to do my social media. And he was like, you can't afford that and you don't need to do that. And I went against him. And it was a lot of money, but I invested in myself. And Helen, I've done comedy for 22 years, but I was a mama first. And every dime I made, I bought uniforms with it. I got everybody's hair cut. I never invested in a website for myself. I had like 2 headshots in 20-something years because it was just, I don't know, that wasn't good business on my part, but I just put everything into my children. That was what I did. And then at this point, in 2019, I thought, I'm going to hire these and I'm going to give it 3 months. I'm going to give these young boys 3 months. And if it doesn't happen after that, I'll bow out of comedy. I knew I was going to have a grandbaby. Charlie got married right out of college. I knew they were going to have a bunch of babies. And I'm from the country. I wanted to be a meemaw. And I thought, I'll go to work at Target. I'm not kidding. I thought, I'll go to work at Target and I'll put bedding up in the back on those things. That looks fun. I really did. I thought, I'll just bow out of this.
You were about to tap out.
Yeah, I thought, I'm going to give it this. And then, because I had worked, my manager got me in some clubs. I couldn't sell tickets. I could tell they were like, oh, she's one of those Dry Bar comics. Like I was really not a legit comic. And over the years, like Comedy Central wouldn't have anything to do with me, I would get no's from all of them. And so I thought, maybe I'm not legit. Maybe this is it. This is the end of the road. And they put out one video about me taking Chuck Morgan to go see Def Leppard and Journey at Thompson Bowling Arena. And I talked about how, and I had filmed that. I had never done that bit before. I did it one time in Chattanooga. Somebody got it on film. Those boys put it out. And I've talked about old people at concerts and how everybody had plantar fasciitis and was worried about the snack bar. And everybody there is our age. And every once in a while, somebody would stand up and then they'd sit back down. And it went viral. And it was like a fire. Somebody lit a fire, and I could feel it. I could feel it in my, a wave go through my body. I knew what was happening. I was in New York City. We were moving my baby into school she went to school for makeup for television and film. We were in a tiny hotel room, and I said, I think something is happening. And Chuck said, the Uber's here. Get the luggage and let's get out. Everybody was worried about moving her in her apartment. And but in my heart, I thought, oh my gosh, something is happening. And I could feel it, physically feel it. Does that make sense? I physically felt something. I thought, oh my gosh, I knew it. I saw people, thousands of people sharing. Well, people saw that and started looking at everything else that I had online that liked that. And then my manager called and said, they want to book you back in Orlando. They want to book you in Tampa. They want you to come to Chicago. And I started selling out all over the United States. It happened I'm not kidding, in 2 to 3 weeks, my life changed. Is that not the craziest thing? It's so much more special and wonderful than anything I ever thought it was going to be.
The reason I'm sitting here and just absorbing what you're saying, and hopefully not stepping on what you're saying, is because I saw it happen. And I'm so proud of you for not quitting.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
For not giving up, for believing in the possibility. So it starts to happen. 100-city tour?
Yes, so I was selling out all over the United States in comedy clubs, one-nighters, and then, and people were lined up, and these comedy club people were like, where have you been? Your audience is the best audience we've ever seen. They're not rowdy, we don't have to calm anybody down, they're not fighting. It would be, and this is what was special, it would be a grandmama, like an 80-year-old woman who's never been to a comedy club. Her daughter, 50, and then her daughter, like 25. And they said, we've never seen this before. And I would see these little elderly people sitting in the front row with a little brooch on, coming to a comedy club. and I'd think, I can't even believe this. And I really messed with my head, and I thought, I need to go home with every one of them and clean their house and make them a casserole. I really did, and put in a load of wash, because they're coming out and doing this for me. Because it had been years, where I could not, comedy clubs, I worked comedy clubs, like 5 or 6 a year would book me, but most of them were like, I didn't come up in them, so they didn't want me. So anyway, that was all crazy. And then my agent called me. Somebody begged, my manager begged somebody to take me as an agent. I was selling out all over the United States, and they still didn't want me. And I don't know if it's because I was a 50-something-year-old woman from Tennessee. I don't know what it was, but they had to beg a guy, like a favor, can you take her as her agent? And so he took me, sweet young guy, and they call me and they go, Outback Concerts out of Nashville, Tennessee, which I've known Mike Smartack and Brian Dorfman for 20 years. I've always wanted to be in business with them. They did the Blue Collar Tour, and they do all the comedians that you've ever loved. Called me and they said, we want to give you a 50-city tour. Put it on sale, sold out. They said, we're going to give you another 50. So that was the 100-city tour, and I named it the Big Panty Tour. All right, I know you boys have been waiting for me to talk about my panties. I know, calm down. I named this the Big Panty Tour. I've done 100 cities. This is winding it down. Thank you. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. And people ask me all the time, why'd you name this Big Panty Tour? And I tell people, I like big panties. Big panties say to me, freedom. Comfort. I was wearing these tiny panties for years and they were cutting me in two. I thought, who are these for? Little children? I love, boys, are y'all watching? I love a high-cut brief. I love a high-cut brief, and I like it to come over my stomach. Thank you. Thank you. And the kind that I wear are called Vanity Fair lingerie. Beyond comfort. Beyond comfort. And they are soft and luxurious, and they don't ride up. They stay out of my crack. I don't want anything in my crack. I know, love them, okay. But I want you boys to know that I've held on to some tiny little hateful panties. I've kept them in a drawer, and I get those out every once in a while in case some bills need to get paid. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's biblical. My love language is words of affirmation. Okay, if you have not taken that test, go get you a book called The 5 Love Languages. My husband and I did it at the Methodist Church. When we were just married, we went on a retreat and we did this. And they have one for your children and they have one for your spouse. So you read it, you take the test, and everybody has a prominent love language. There's 5 of them. And so you find out what your spouse's love language is. And they find out what your love language is, and you feed each other their love language. And then when you do, their love tank feels full. And if they feed you yours, your love tank feels full. If you don't feed them their love language, they go to work. And they're at the water fountain. And some whore comes up. And feeds them their love language. And then they feel a tingle. And then Satan swoops in. Everybody, I think you know where I'm going with that. Okay. So there's 5 love languages. The first one is quality time. You know people that just want you to spend quality time with them. Just them. Okay. Then there's physical touch. I know you girls think, that's my husband. Physical touch. He's on me like a duck on a June bug. But I'm not talking about that kind of physical touch, the nasty kind. I'm talking about, you know, people that just want to squeeze and they're physical and they want to hold your hand, they want to hug on you, that kind of physical touch. Okay, then there's gifts. And that's my sister. She loves, if you've thought about her, it doesn't have to be expensive. If it's a rose, if it's a card, hers is gifts. She feels love and her love tank is full. Mine is words of affirmation. So all my husband has to say is, Leanne, you look beautiful today. Or Leanne, that Trisha Yearwood's chicken piccata is to die for. And then I'm willing to do something vulgar with him. And then he gives me money to get my hair highlighted. You see how that works? That's really biblical. Okay, and then the fifth one is acts of service. So that's my husband's. So I have to, honest to goodness, I have to go in the garage and build a set of shelves for him to feel love. Let me tell you about my family. I have my husband. We live in Knoxville, Tennessee. I have my husband. Thank you. I have my husband and my 3 grown children. I have a 25-year-old boy that's married to a darling little girl. And then I have my 22-year-old daughter and then my 20-year-old daughter, and she's still in Knoxville with us. And so these children grew up and left me with their daddy. And he is so not fun. And so he doesn't chat. And so I'm just at home talking to myself. And we've got 2 beagles. And we miss these children so bad that we just sit and kiss them in the mouth. So I'm trying to adjust to just being with their daddy. And so I bought him tickets to go see Def Leopard and Journey. Okay, let me tell you. Have y'all been to concerts lately with old people that are older than I am? Okay, we went and I thought, oh, we're going to have a fun date. And I said, where are we going to go out to eat? And he goes, I don't have time for that. It was on a weeknight. So he went to the Pilot and bought himself a tall boy. And I think that's what it's called, and an egg salad sandwich from the Pilot. And so I didn't get to eat, and I was so hungry. And it dawned on me at a concert. You know, when I was 20 and I'd go to a concert, I was at University of Tennessee, and so I'd go to Thompson Bowling. And I'd wear a crop top. And I didn't care about eating. I wasn't hungry, you know. I was thinking what boys were going to be there, and I had on little bitty breeches. Because I still had a metabolism and my thyroid was acting right. Okay. So we go to Def Leppard and Journey, and everybody there is our age. And everybody's worried about the snack bar, first of all. And I was too. And I was so hungry, and I noticed that people had big Diet Cokes, like big buckets of Diet Coke, and were sucking on those big buckets of Diet Coke while the concert was going on. And every once in a while, somebody would stand up and then they'd sit back down. Journey has a little bitty feller from another country singing for them, and he's yummy. He looks like a little M&M. You could put him in your pocket. And you could tell he doesn't eat white flour and sugar. And he's singing and doing, he sounds like Steve Perry, but it's not the same. You know, Steve Perry is my boo. So it was like we were going to a tribute concert. But anyway, everybody in the band, besides this little fella, everybody had eaten white flour and sugar, and probably had done dope and drank terrible things, and everybody looked sick, and the bass player looked like somebody I had bought my jewelry from for years, and they were just barely a-going. And then Def Leppard came out, and it was that lead singer, I think, has got thyroid issues. His hair was just thin and didn't have a lux to it, and then I noticed he had little bitty tiny legs and a little pot-belly stomach. But he sang "Put Some Sugar on It," which I hate that mess. I am a Earth, Wind, and Fire R&B gal, and I love my Journey, but I was like, this isn't my thing. And my husband every once in a while would go, and then just sit down, because he loves it. But anyway, this little man with the tiny little legs and the thinning hair, and then he had this little bump right here, and I could tell that's a hernia. He's got a hernia. And I bet that he hadn't had time to get it fixed. He hadn't had time to put a mesh in. And you could just see it. It looks like my stomach because I've had a hernia, but I've had mine fixed. And I thought, oh, bless his heart. But he'd do, and he'd prop a little thin, frail leg up on something. Oh, I thought, isn't it funny how things have changed since I went to concerts when I was 20? Everybody was walking out like this because everybody had inflammation in their feet. Trying to get to their car. And it was like 10 o'clock. I thought, what are we doing out here? What are we doing? We gotta get home. We gotta get in the bed. Let me tell you about this baby. We are becoming the best of friends, really, because she's now 21 years old, and she has always been a beauty and so smart and fun and hateful. Okay, so now she not to other people. She holds it in when she's in public so that she can come home and let it out on me. And that's okay, I'm her safe person. And I believe that God allows this when your children get in about, I don't know, junior, senior in high school, because He knows that you're grieving, because they're gonna leave. And He knows that you're gonna take to the bed over it. So, their junior and senior year, something happens. And they change on you. And they get to be the meanest people you've ever been around. So by the time they're ready to leave, you kick their crap out onto the curb. Her junior year, this started, okay, the very breath that I breathed out of my nostrils made her so angry. We were not allowed to eat cereal in our own home. Because she couldn't stand to hear us chew. And I don't mean to talk about her because she had a lot on her. She had a lot on her, like she had to empty the dishwasher. And that's a lot, you know. I'll give you all an example. Okay, at the University of Tennessee in her sorority, these girls will come home, you know, and I'll cook for them and do, and I'm tickled. All right, well, they like Memphis, Nashville girls. Well, a little girl came home with her and spent 2 nights. So I washed that little thing's clothes, and all I said to this little girl was, Katie, you're so tiny. Your little underwear looks like a slingshot. That little girl thought it was funny, and my baby went. So I got out of there. So when that little girl left, I came back in, I went, what's wrong with me saying that her little panties look like a slingshot? I wish somebody'd say my panties look like a slingshot. My panties look like... Have y'all ever seen Mel Gibson in Braveheart? You know when they pull that big ball out and that thing looks like it's a catapult. They pull that big ball, fling it and kill a bunch of children with it. That's what my panties look like. Do y'all know who owns Victoria's Secret? I used to buy my panties at Victoria's Secret, but they started cutting me in two. All right. Do y'all know who, seriously, do y'all know who owns it? Satan. Okay, so Journey has a little bitty feller from another country singing for them, and he's yummy. He looks like a little M&M. You could put him in your pocket. And you can tell he doesn't eat white flour and sugar. And he's singing and doing, he sounds like Steve Perry, but it's not the same. You know, Steve Perry is my boo. So it was like we were going to a tribute concert. But anyway, everybody in the band, besides this little fella, everybody had eaten white flour and sugar, and probably had done dope and drank terrible things, and everybody looked sick, and the bass player looked like somebody I had bought my jewelry from for years, and they were just barely a-going. And then Def Leopard came out, and it was that lead singer, I think, has got thyroid issues. His hair was just thin and didn't have a lux to it, and then I noticed he had little bitty tiny legs and a little pot-belly stomach. But he sang "Put Some Sugar on It," which I hate that mess. I am a Earth, Wind and Fire R&B gal, and I love my Journey, but I was like, this isn't my thing. And my husband every once in a while would go, and then just sit down, because he loves it. But anyway, this little man with the tiny little legs and the thin hair, and then he had this little bump right here, and I could tell that's a hernia. He's got a hernia. And I bet that he hadn't had time to get it fixed. He hadn't had time to put a mesh in. And you could just see it. It looks like my stomach, because I've had a hernia, but I've had mine fixed. And I thought, oh, bless his heart. But he'd do, and he'd prop a little thin, frail leg up on something. Oh, I thought, isn't it funny how things have changed since I went to concerts when I was 20? Everybody was walking out like this because everybody had inflammation in their feet. Trying to get to their car. And it was like 10 o'clock. I thought, what are we doing out here? What are we doing? We gotta get home. We gotta get in the bed. Have y'all seen the goober mamas? The mamas that wear blue jeans to up their armpits, you know? I don't want to be like that, so I went to the Gap to get some low-rise in blue jeans. Have you girls bought pants in the last 5 years? Oh my goodness, terrible. Okay. I went into the Gap, this beautiful, darling little 19-year-old heifer brought me in a pair of blue jeans to try on. I did. Okay, the zipper, honest to goodness, was about that long. And they hit me about right here. And I said to her, I said, is my stomach supposed to be hanging out over my blue jeans? It looks like a small purse. I said, are my panties supposed to be hanging out this far out of the back of my pants? She said, no, you're supposed to wear a thong. I said, excuse me, miss, but I'm a Christian. I don't use my panties for evil. All right, she is a beauty. And so, and I know every crow thinks theirs is the blackest, but she's always had a bunch of boys coming around wanting to date her. So there was one that came around, and he was a player. Do y'all remember that, player? Remember? So the young people call it player. My husband's not a player. He doesn't chat at all. So he never sweet talked me or, you know, he's not that way. Solid, though, solid. I've got good health insurance. But, like, he has never, you know, charmed, you know, not that kind of man. Okay. Well, she had this one coming around. He was a charmer. He was a player. And so he would say to me things like, Miss Morgan, you look beautiful. And I'd be like, can I make you a casserole? And eventually they broke up, praise God, because I was exhausted. I was blowing my hair out every day and mopping the kitchen floor. But the reason I got played, let me tell y'all, the reason I got played is because my love language is words of affirmation. Okay, if you have not taken that test, go get you a book called The 5 Love Languages. My husband and I did it at the Methodist Church. When we were just married, we went on a retreat and we did this. And they have one for your children and they have one for your spouse. So you read it, you take the test, and everybody has a prominent love language. There's 5 of them. And so you find out what your spouse's love language is. And they find out what your love language is, and you feed each other their love language. And then when you do, their love tank feels full. And if they feed you yours, your love tank feels full. If you don't feed them their love language, they go to work. And they're at the water fountain. And some whore comes up. And feeds them their love language. And then they feel a tingle. And then Satan swoops in. Everybody, I think you know where I'm going with that. Okay. So there's 5 love languages. The first one is quality time. You know people that just want you to spend quality time with them. Just them. Okay. Then there's physical touch. I know you girls think, that's my husband. Physical touch. He's on me like a duck on a June bug. But I'm not talking about that kind of physical touch, the nasty kind. I'm talking about, you know, people that just want to squeeze and they're physical and they want to hold your hand, they want to hug on you, that kind of physical touch. Okay, then there's gifts. And that's my sister. She loves, if you've thought about her, it doesn't have to be expensive. If it's a rose, if it's a card, hers is gifts. She feels love and her love tank is full. Mine is words of affirmation. So all my husband has to say is, Leanne, you look beautiful today. Or Leanne, that Trisha Yearwood's chicken piccata is to die for. And then I'm willing to do something vulgar with him. And then he gives me money to get my hair highlighted. So that is no grains, no bread, no flour, no dairy. I know. I used to watch Shaft when I was little, and somebody was always getting off of heroin. I'm not saying that's like that, but kinda. I shook. Becky, and I shook. Y'all know what I heard on today's show? Do y'all know who Donnie Deutsch is? That name's hard to say, Deutsch. The big idea, Donnie Deutsch, he's some big advertising guy that's done like Nike. I don't know what all he's done, but anyway, nice looking man. He was on the Today Show with Matt Lauer and all them. They were talking about Valentines, and they said that men really don't care about Valentine's Day. That women, it's more for women, and that you need to buy your wife and girlfriend, nifty things on Valentine's Day. And they said, what do men want? And he said, men want a woman to do nasty, vulgar things to them. And he said, do a surprise, like dress up in something, an outfit, like a nursing outfit or a French maid. And I thought to myself, Lord, if I've got on a French maid outfit, I know Chuck, he'd say, Leanne, get some spick and span. We're going to fix these baseboards that you hadn't washed the whole time we've lived here. I'm going to dust them, and then I want you to go over them with spick and span. And then just after I had ruined my back, after a day of doing the baseboard, then he would come up to me and try to mount me, I guess is what people say. Is that nasty? I'm sorry. I don't mean that. I'm sorry. I don't mean that. Well, that's biblical. I'm married. Well, all over the United States, they've got this thing called competition cheer. And it's kind of like, if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like Honey Boo Boo meets the Olympics. Really. It's gymnast. They're gymnasts. And there's one in Knoxville called the Sharks. And they said, drop your baby off and she can try out to audition, whatever you want to call it. So I dropped her off, and they ended up putting her on a bad Mama Jamma team because all the little children her age came up to hear on her. And somebody's got to throw them up in the air. So they were thrilled with her, and they treated us like royalty. But anyway, they said, you're going to come in here twice a week, learn a 2-minute routine. It's going to cost you $150 a month. It's like, okay. They said, there's a uniform that you're going to order, and it comes to here. It's going to expose her stomach. She's going to have a tiny skirt on with a slit in it with a glitter panty underneath it. It's $300. I said, that's a whore outfit. And it came with its own bag of whore makeup. So that all the little children could look alike. And they said, y'all are going to travel to faraway lands and compete against other little whore children. So we went to like Cincinnati or Atlanta. And we had to get hotel rooms and the gas and all of that. And then you drive up to a big coliseum, a huge coliseum. And there's tens of thousands of little whore children walking around. And my husband said, there could be pedophiles here. This is the ugliest thing I've ever, something's not right. Okay, so then they said, you're going to pay $150 for your baby to be in this competition. You're going to have to pay $30 to put a band on to get in and watch your baby in this competition. Somebody was selling corn dogs for $15. Okay. They start out with the babies, so it goes from 5 to 18 ages. So the babies come out in a tiny little skirt about the size of a napkin. And they come out to Beyonce's All the Single Ladies. And their little mamas are in their 20s. And they're not bitter yet. And they're in the front doing every move to keep their baby on track because they're babies and they need to be at home breastfeeding. So they move up throughout the day into my baby's age, and they're the reef sharks. They call out that name, honey, for 2.5 minutes. My baby throws little children up in the air, flinging little children, broken out in a sweat, working like a Trojan. Did you see my Spanx? Okay, all right. One of my girls said I look like Miley Cyrus in the Wrecking Ball in my Spanx. But anyway, so she throws these little children up. The little children she's throwing up in the air are the flyers. They call them the flyers. And they're freakishly tiny little children. I don't know where these people come from. Their mamas are freakishly tiny. I mean, I come from big people. I've got thick ankles. I can work in the fields. And the whole time she's throwing them in there, these little girls are going. Knows why, really. So at the end of the routine, after the 2.5 minutes, the finale, everybody hunkers down on the stage, puts their forehead on the stage, and my baby is the finale. She pops up and has a little child's foot in her hand and holds that child's foot. I would put it all the way up, but my dress is tight in the back. But anyway, she holds this little child up over her head. Are y'all listening to me? I mean, it was a big deal. I mean, could you hold her up over your head or vice versa? I mean, you know, it's a big deal. So anyway, everybody went nuts. But she said, after it was over, she goes, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go back to playing. She ended up playing volleyball the rest of her childhood. But she said, I'm keeping that whore outfit. She said, I'm going to get married in it. My oldest daughter has turned 11, and she's in 6th grade in middle school. And I can tell that puberty is beginning with her. She's crazy. And she's mean as a snake. And we're scared to death of her, but we just tiptoe around her. She cries a lot, and she doesn't know why, and she tells us, I don't know why I'm crying. And we just try to get through it. But I'm telling you, she can run a household. She's a grown woman. She has been ever since she got here. So I said, you're going to have to come in here, baby. I said, your daddy's going to take care of y'all. I'm going to Nashville for like 3 days. She bust out crying. I said, what's wrong? She said, don't leave us with him. He doesn't know where the food is. I said, well, that's why you're in charge. And she is. God love her. But my girls are emotional, and I don't mean to talk about them because I love them, and I know they'll visit me in the nursing home. But they are lunatics. My husband says they're psycho, and they need therapy. And I'll give you all an example. I can be in the pickup line at school, and this has happened when they were in 1st grade, and it happens every day when I pick them up at school now. I'm sitting in the pickup line, and I can see them come out, and they are in a good mood. And they're goosing each other and giggling and doing and talking and having a good time. They're waving to the teachers and the principal. See you tomorrow. Okay. Then they come over to my vehicle. Get in. Shut the door. My 11-year-old take her backpack and sling it and hit me in the back of the head with it. Every day she says something like this. I'm starving to death. You don't have a piece of cheese in this car? Your driving's making me car sick. I hate her. Why'd you have her? And then my baby will be sitting up there in a daze. She'll be going, Mama, 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 Mama. What? Mama, Mama, Mama. What? I'm listening. She asked me some of the craziest things. One day she said to me, did Jesus ever have head lice? How do you answer something like that? I said, well, baby, if he did, I know he healed it. And then my girls would be whipping each other in the back seat and telling each other how bad they hate each other and they wished each other were dead. And then my sweet boy will come out. He'll get in and he'll say, you know, they're building a new Home Depot up on 281. Just as happy-go-lucky. He's just like this. He's been like that all of his life. He's 14. He's never sassed me. I know people say it's coming. I'm telling you, I don't think it will. And I'm in love with him. My husband says I have an unhealthy obsession with him. Whatever. And, And I tell you, for you little mamas out there, you young mamas that are going through, you know, got a bunch of little children vomiting in the carpet, peeing in the closet. When you're trying to pee and they like slide ham under the door and say, can you open this, Mom? I know what y'all want for Mother's Day. Y'all want an Ambien and a hotel room. I hope y'all get it. I hope y'all get it. When you get to be my age, and I'm 51 years old, honey, you beg your little children to come home and be up your butthole. I beg them and try to hold money over their head. All right, but they're all home. I'm so thankful, so grateful. Okay, y'all, we got a big night ahead of us. Y'all are precious. I want to talk to y'all about, because I am 51 and going through hormonal changes. Okay, I am with their daddy, and these children all walked off and left me with him. And he's so not fun. And he can't help it. He's that way because he has to make a living for all of us. And he's got a lot on us, and all the money's going out the window, and, you know, because we got 2 in college. We just had 1 get married. But he and I are having to adjust being together for the first time in how many years, you know, before we got married. And so he sends me emoji, kissy faces, and stuff like that. But I am low on progesterone and testosterone. He's low on testosterone, praise God. In the suit season, Lord, I've always worn a miracle suit, and I'll talk about that in just a minute, but I did a show for a group here in Knoxville named were Darling. And after I did it, a woman came up to me and she goes, Leanne, are you not going to Sears and buying you a swim dress? And I thought, well, I didn't know my life was over. So she said, you need to go to Sears or order it online with Land's End. And it's a swim dress. She goes, you're going to love it, I promise you. Okay, so I go to Sears at Westtown Mall. When's the last time any of y'all went to Sears at Westtown Mall? There's not a soul in the Westtown Mall Sears. They've got the lights on. There's nobody working. There's nobody there shopping. I swear I think they're running dope out of Sears. But I got me a swim dress, and I am beautiful in it. And I'll tell you why, because it shows my arms. My arms, the only thing I've got left living for. And they are my daddy's. Jimmy Fletcher, I got them from him. My sister gets so mad because she didn't get them, and she'll call me and say, you got daddy's arms, and just hang up on me. But this swim dress, okay, it cinches up through here, so it's real flattering right there. And then it comes down and hides all this boogity-boo I got going on right here. And I am beautiful in it. I hate to say that. It kind of looks like Titanic, but for years I wore a miracle suit. Okay, the miracle suit is in Dillard's and Bell, Macy's, or all over. And there'll be hundreds of them in a big area at a department store. And there's a tag hanging from all of them that says, miracle suit. Lose 10 pounds in 10 minutes. And you do, because you sweat yourself to death trying to get it on. Because the miracle suit has a girdle in it. They're one piece. So the girdle is right through here, so it smooths you out real pretty through here. You look really good because it squeezes your fat out in all the other directions, all the other holes. And I would buy it because I felt desperate and I didn't know what else to do. And I didn't feel pretty in them, and then I'd buy a sarong and wrap it around my whole body, and then sit under an umbrella and act like I was reading. But I bought them every year. I had them all the time, and I look back in videos from vacations, and I've got them on, and it's awful. Okay, so my girlfriend, the one with poop, you remember her? Okay, she found out that I had one. She was like, oh my gosh, I want one. So she drove down from Greenville, Tennessee, and they went to the Dillards. And she brought her 14-year-old daughter with her, and they got in the dressing room at Dillard's, and the 14-year-old was sacking her mama up in this bathing suit. And her 14-year-old said, Mom, this is so gross. Put it back, let's get out of here. She said, I can't, I've got to buy it, I just peed in it. My love language is words of affirmation. Have y'all ever heard of that book, 5 Love Languages? It is wonderful, and it works. It's the real deal. My husband and I went on a Sunday school class retreat when our children were little, and we watched this little frail man talk about it. Okay, and it was on Oprah, so you know it's real. But anyway, what it is there's 5 love languages, and you get the book, you read the book. Well, you don't really, I don't read the book. But anyway, you take the test, and it tells you what your prominent love language is out of those 5, and it tells you what your partner's love language is. So then you can go home at night and feed your partner their love language, and they can feed you your love language, and then your love tank feels full. And if you don't do it, then your partner's liable to go to work, and they're at the water fountain, and some whore comes in. And feeds their love language. And then they feel a tingle. And then Satan swoops in. Y'all know where I'm going with that? It's a disaster. So, there's 5 love languages. There's quality time. And that's my sister's. Quality time, but you just can sit and watch ESPN with somebody, you know, which I don't want to, but I mean, you just sit with somebody. Okay, then there's gifts, and you can just give them a card and they feel loved. It doesn't have to be something expensive. Okay, then there's physical touch, and most women in here will go, oh my gosh, that's my husband's. Physical touch. He's on me like a duck on a June bug. But it's not that kind of nasty. I'm talking about, you know, like there's people that just want to hug you and kiss you and squeeze you and they got to hold your hand. That's the physical touch you're talking about. Okay, then there's words of affirmation. That's mine. So all my husband has to say is, Leanne, you are a good mama. Leanne, that Trisha Yearwood's chicken piccata is to die for. And then my love tank feels full, and then I'm willing to do something vulgar with him. And then he gives me money to get my hair highlighted. So you see how it all works out. So his love language, the 5th one, is acts of service. So I have to go and build a set of shelves in the garage for him to feel loved. I wanted to tell y'all that I got asked to do the sweetest thing in my hometown. I got asked to do a charity event for East Tennessee Children's Hospital in Knoxville, Tennessee, and it was a local Dancing with the Stars for local celebrities. And I'm a big deal in Knoxville. So they asked me to do this, and I didn't want to do it because they put you in a bikini with fringe sewn on it, just like they do on ABC. You're practically naked in front of everybody you've ever known. And I had been eating white flour, and I was in a bad place, and I didn't want to do it, but I thought, isn't that selfish of me? That's sick little children. And they raised so much money for them. So I said I would do it. And they put me with this precious partner, Daniel, a big old boy. And we were going to do the cha-cha to Earth, Wind, and Fire September. And we practiced for 6 weeks, and we begged for money during the day and danced at night. And it was so stressful. So one night, we were practicing, he kind of slung me hard, and I thought, oh my gosh, something doesn't feel right. So I went to bed, and I got up the next morning, and this big thing was sticking out about right here, and I thought, oh my gosh, is that backed up poop? And because I have trouble with that. And I called my girlfriend, Emily, and I said, I think I've got backed up poop. And she said, I don't think poop goes up that far. And so she looked on her WebMD on her iPad and found a picture of a man that looked like an alien coming out of him. And she said, is that it? And I said, yes. And she said, you got a hernia. So like 4 days before the event, I had a hernia that had to be operated on. So I went in for that operation, and my 2 teenage girls that are usually so hateful, okay, they stepped in and learned to dance in 4 days. So the night of the event, I came out in a wheelchair to Proud Mary Keep On Turning. And they did that video, that dance. If you remember when Tina Turner would do that and it looked like a car wash, do y'all remember that? And what I learned in that whole thing, what I learned in that whole thing was that if something bad, really bad happened to me, God forbid, like a bad sickness, my husband and my children would let me die. After I had that hernia surgery, I laid up in the bed for 3 days and nobody checked on me.